Hey, Paul, what kind of tracks are those?
Oh, funny you should ask. I got a guide for that.
All right. Hey, Paul, check out all these different kinds of grasses. What's the difference between those?
Huh. I don't know. I think we need a little bit of guidance.
Hey, what kind of bird is that, Paul?
I don't know, but I got a guide for that.
Hey, Paul, these are some pretty cool flowers. They're real dark and purple. What kind are they?
I don't know, but never fear. The guide is here.
Hey, Paul, look at the color of this rock. I wonder what kind of rock this is.
I don't know, but luckily, I got a guide for that.
Hey, Paul, I just came across some scat. What kind of scat is that?
I don't know, but luckily, we got a guide for that.
Hey, Paul, look, I found a skull. I found a skull. I wonder what kind of skull that is. Is that like a bear skull?
I don't know. Why don't we check the guide? So there are thousands upon thousands of guides. You don't have to lug them all out into the woods every time you go. The purpose of this video is to give you a little guidance into how to select the best field guide for what you want to learn about. So let's go take a little bit closer look. So we have hundreds of field guides, and this is actually only part of our collection. The reason we have so many is because we're traveling across the state. But if you're buying a field guide, one of the things that I would recommend is try and get as specific as possible. So for example, birds in New Mexico, that's pretty good, but it's covering the whole state, from mountains to deserts to everything. But I would more recommend something if you can get it like this. This is Larry Littlefield, one of our past volunteers, his book, and this is Wildflowers of the Northern and Central Mountains of New Mexico, the Sangre de Cristos, Jemez, and Sandias. That's going to be the most specific and assure you that what you're seeing in the field is going to be in your book. So another thing to consider if you're going into the backcountry or just on a long hike is portability. You don't want to have to carry big heavy books into the backcountry. The problem with portability though is you're not going to have a field guide that is very in-depth. The diversity is only going to be the most basic things that you can find, but it's a good start, especially if you are a beginner. I would also say that the durability on these is really good. You know, you don't want to take an expensive field guide out and have it raining and all, and these can get wet and are very tough. So another thing that I like in field guides is a little bit of natural history information. For me, it provides a good context. And what I mean by that is, for example, I was just reading in this book about how red squirrels have just 3 or 4 large caches of nuts and seeds, where squirrels like gray squirrels will cache in many smaller caches all over the forest. So that would give you an indication. You find a large cache of seeds, probably a red squirrel. So natural history information not just enriches your experience, but actually helps you identify things as well. So there's a lot of different variety in field guides in terms of how the information is presented. And some of it may be counterintuitive. Like Larry Littlefield's book here is photographs. And for flowers, that's going to be great. But for plants like grasses and things, DeWitt Ivy's book here has line drawings. And believe it or not, line drawings can be much more detailed and specific. This Sibley guide here, you would think that photographs of birds would be the best, but this Sibley guide demonstrates why that might not be the best, because it has these paintings. They're able to get the markings and all more specific. They can also show it in a juvenile, second year, adult. They can show under the wings. So there can be a lot more variety in these illustrated drawings. And then finally there are dichotomous keys. If you're going to be using a dichotomous key, I would recommend knowing your subject matter very well, because, for example, this is asking about the chromonoid process and how high it rises. You would have to actually know what that means to use a dichotomous key. But the good thing about these is they are very specific and will get you the information you need very precisely. So a couple final points on field guides, things that I like and would recommend. One thing that I would recommend is taking a blank journal. Wondering why that is? Well, especially if you're identifying things like lizards or birds or something, once you see it, write down everything that you can remember about it and then go to your journal or your guide, because it's going to be easier for you to remember all those markings. Ease of use, and that's going to vary for everybody, but I like field guides, like this field guide to the plants and animals of the Middle Rio Grande. I like field guides that are color-coded. They help me get through to what I'm looking at very quickly. When you're identifying things like tracks and some plants and all, I really appreciate a ruler on the bottom because that helps you measure and figure out exactly what you're looking at, and that's especially important when you're looking at things like tracks. And another thing that I really like is in a field guide is just a couple blank pages at the back for notes. Maybe where you saw certain specimens, what trails you saw it on, things like that. I think a note section in a field guide is a kind of a nice little handy thing. So hope this helps you pick your field guide. Hope you enjoyed watching, and we will catch you on the next one.